Good day, everyone. I am Maria Jovin Villarente, and I will be discussing the first part of writing analysis and technical paper entitled Literary Analysis. So before that, what is literature? So literature is a broad term for written works from a variety of genres including fiction, poetry, and drama fictional. Literature has traditionally been applied to those imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intentions of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution. Literature may be classified according to a variety of systems, including language, national origin, historical period, genre, and subject matter. What is literary analysis? Literary analysis refers to closely studying a text, interpreting its meanings, and exploring why the author made certain choices, which is applied to novels, short stories, plays, poems, or any other form of literary writing. So literary analysis is not merely a summary of a literary work. Instead, it is an argument about the work that expresses a writer's personal perspective, interpretation, judgment, or critical evaluation of the work. This is accomplished by examining the literary devices, word choices, or writing structures the author uses within the work. The purpose of the literary analysis is to demonstrate why the author used specific ideas, word choices, or writing structures to convey his or her message. Now, here are 5 useful ways on how to write literary analysis paper. The first one is reading the text and identifying literary devices. In here, you will be carefully reading the text and take initial notes, and as you read, you should pay attention to the things that are most intriguing, surprising, or even confusing in the writing. These are the things that you can dig into in your analysis. So in here, your goal in literary analysis is not simply to explain the events described in the text, but to analyze the writing itself and discuss how the text works on a deeper level. Primarily, you are looking out for literary devices or textual elements that writers use to convey meaning and create effects. If you are comparing and contrasting multiple texts, you can look also for connections between different texts. To get started with your analysis, there are several key areas that you can focus on. As you analyze each aspect of the text, try to think about how they all relate to each other. You can use highlights or notes to keep track of important passages and quotes. Next is coming up with a thesis. So your thesis is the point you want to make about the text, and in here, it's the core argument that gives your essay direction and prevents it from just being a collection of random observations about the text. So if you're given a prompt of your paper, your thesis must answer or relate to the prompt. So sometimes you will be given freedom to choose your own topic. In this case, you will have to come up with an original thesis. Consider what stood out to you in the text. Ask yourself questions about the elements that interested you and consider how you might answer them. So your thesis should be something arguable, that is something that you think is true about the text. It must be complex enough to develop true evidence and arguments across the course of your paper. Remember that you can revise your thesis statement throughout the writing process, so it doesn't need to be perfectly formulated at this stage. The aim is to keep you focused as you analyze the text. The third is writing a title and introduction. So first is title. So title should clearly indicate what your analysis focus on. So it usually contains the name of the author and text you are analyzing. Keep it as concise and engaging as possible. A common approach to the title is to use a relevant quote from the text, followed by a colon and then the rest of your title. Then the introduction. Introduction will provide a quick overview of where your argument is going. So it should include your thesis statement and the summary of the essay's structure. A typical structure for an introduction is to begin with a general statement about the text and the author. Using this to lead into your thesis statement, you might refer to a commonly held idea about the text and show how your thesis will contradict it or zoom it on a particular device you intend to focus on. So if you do write the introduction first, you should still return to it later to make sure it lines up with what you ended up writing and edit as necessary. Then fourth is writing the body of the essay. So the body of your essay is everything between the introduction and conclusion. It contains your arguments and the textual evidence that supports them. So a typical structure for literary analysis essay consists of 5 paragraphs. The 3 paragraphs of the body plus the introduction and conclusion, so each paragraph and the main body should focus on one topic. In the 5 paragraph model, try to divide your argument into 3 main areas of analysis, all linked to your thesis. Don't try to include everything you can think of to say about the text, only analysis that drives your argument. Then the last one is the writing a conclusion. So the conclusion of your analysis should not introduce any new quotations or arguments. Instead, it's about wrapping up the essay. So in here, you summarize your key points and try to emphasize their significance to the reader. So a good way to approach this is to briefly summarize your key arguments and then stress the conclusion they have led you to, highlighting the new perspective your thesis provides on the text as a whole. So that's the end of my part. Let's now proceed to the next.